There's a Spanish proverb that, if I understand it correctly, says, "Una onza de madre vale una libra del clero," which means an ounce of mother is worth a pound of clergy. So with that in mind, I'm going to keep my remarks short this morning, and I hope that you'll use any extra time that allows you to connect with your mother, the mother who raised you, or another mother who's important to you. And if your mother's gone, I hope that you'll take some time today to remember her. Maybe visit her grave if you can, or sit with her picture, or prepare her favorite meal, or listen to her favorite song. Do something to bring her presence in some tangible way into your life and into your heart. Now, my idea today for what I want to say on this Mother's Day comes from the title of a recent retreat that the Mothers Group here at All Souls had just a couple of weeks ago. And they titled it, "The Woman Inside the Mother." I wasn't there, but that's what I understand the title was. And the point being that motherhood can become so consuming that a woman can lose touch with the person inside, the person who's more than a mother. Now, this is also true of fathers. I can attest to that. And it's also true of people without children, in the ways that our lives can become consumed by some part of ourselves that then comes to dominate our lives in such a way that we lose track of our full selves. Now, I once knew a woman who was having endless issues, that's what we say now, issues with her teenage daughter. Now, they used to be incredibly close, this mother and daughter, and this mom dedicated the past 15 years of her life to her daughter's welfare. Now, in fact, the woman had given up her career, her hobbies, and many of her former friends in order to be a parent. Well, their mother-daughter difficulties had become so large at this point that the mother had all but given up on her daughter. And she started to return to focusing on herself and her own life, figuring there's really, for any of us, only one life that we can save. And in doing so, she picked up a book titled The Artist Way. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a very compelling book. It's based on this idea that everyone is an artist. Everyone is filled with creativity on some level, and that we don't have to be a professional to be an artist, but that we're born to create with a creative spark. And this book leads people through a process of trying to discover that creativity that's within them. And so she picked up this book and went through the process, and in doing so, she eventually decided to pull out her flute that she used to play when she was in high school. It had been gathering dust. It had been up on a shelf in the garage for a long time. And before long, she found herself playing her flute for long periods of time, sometimes in the morning, sometimes in the evening. And then she started to make music with other people, with friends. And there's a reason that we call it playing music, because there's something very playful about making music. And as this mother became reconnected to her own playfulness and her own passion and creativity, she also became reconnected to her daughter. She realized that her daughter did not just want a mom who sacrificed to give her everything. She wanted a mother whose spirit was alive. It was as if something lifted from her daughter's psyche when her mother began to have a life of her own. One of the best things that we can do to raise our children well is to become fully alive ourselves. And a child can sense its parents' unrealized potential. They may not have a name for it, they might not have a word for it, they couldn't articulate it, but they can sense some unrealized potential in their own parents. Now, trying to teach our children to have full lives, well, we're not doing that ourselves. It's like trying to tell our children not to smoke while we're smoking, right? Our actions speak much louder than our lips. The title of this message this morning is For the Children of Our Children. It's about how living for others does not mean giving up ourselves. In fact, it means fulfilling ourselves and our own potential. There's a well-known Native American concept that comes from the Iroquois Confederacy, and it is, in whatever decisions we make, we must think unto the seventh generation. Now imagine if every time we made a decision, we thought about how it would affect people 7 generations from now. Think about this. What do you think? 7 generations ago, what do you think was happening around here and throughout America? Any guesses? What was it? It was the Civil War. The Civil War was happening 7 generations ago. As they were thinking forward, they were thinking as white men and black men and women and people across this land fought to end slavery and to keep this nation together. These were folks who were thinking about us having the freedom that we have, having a nation that founded on the real equality, not just a written word of equality. And those folks could only imagine what they were doing, giving their lives in many cases, was going to do for us and for the future 7 generations later. But why would somebody sacrifice their lives for anyone, for something so far away? And I think to myself, what about these folks who are over in Syria and Yemen and Libya, right, who are taking to the streets for their own freedom despite brutality and violence over there? Why would anyone do it? Because they can't honestly teach their children the importance of being free if they themselves are not free. In other words, the best way to raise creative, courageous, caring, purposeful, fulfilled children is to be caring, creative, courageous, purposeful, fulfilled parents. There's a great poem by the poet Rilke about a father who gets up one night during supper. Now, it could be about a mother or any parent. It says, sometimes a man stands up during dinner and walks outdoors and keeps on walking because of a church that stands somewhere in the east. And his children say a blessing upon him as if he were dead. And another man who remains inside his own house dies there inside the dishes and the glasses, so that his children have to go far out into the world toward that same church which he forgot. Both of these men, both of these kinds of parents fail their children. The first one abandons his family to chase a dream. The first one abandons his family to chase some ideal of what life is supposed to be. And the second one stays at home to fulfill his duty or her duty if it's a mother, but fails to find a way to become fully alive. Finding the woman within the mother, finding the man within the father, finding the person within whatever role seeks to overtake us means to do the sacred work of discovering what brings us alive. To live in a way that we want our children to emulate. It's not that our passion will necessarily become their passion. That's not the point. It's that we need to teach them to become who they are so that they can live and see and witness and have modeled to them what that's like, to have the courage and the conviction to be fully alive in this world, in this time, and awake with all the beauty and all the joy and all the suffering and all of it that exists around us, to be fully alive. Now, I like the way that certain tribal communities around the world will talk about the ancestors. They talk about how their ancestors are still alive in a way. They've died and they've gone to another realm, but they're still looking down upon us here in this realm, is a way a lot of the stories go. And they talk about how the elders are looking down on the tribe, and they know what it's like for the people down there in the tribe because they lived it, and they know what they need, and they can see maybe they need a new healer, maybe they need a new doctor, maybe they need somebody who can hunt, whatever the needs are of that community. And so what they understand that the ancestors do is they pack up the soul. And so the next child that's about to be born, they send that soul down into that child that's about to come into the world, and that child is born with those gifts so that all the adults know that every child that is born into this world is born with some unique talents, skills, and gifts that the tribe needs, that the world needs. Not just needs, but needs to survive. The very survival. So the adults treat those children who come into the world with that sense that they need to find and reach their potential to become fully alive. Now, just like a lot of religious stories, what they do is they're trying to describe the undescribable. So they use common words and stories and images, things that we can think of and imagine in our minds to say something that in some ways is impossible to really say or describe. So the point is not whether there are ancestors somewhere up in the clouds looking down upon us or not. The point is that we come into this world with cargo to deliver. Each of us comes with something unique to bless this world. Sacred cargo. Now, packages, just like gifts in life, come in different sizes, different forms, just like people come in different sizes, different shapes, different forms. You know, I might look like a U.S. postal truck. I'm kind of boxy and white. You might look like a UPS truck, brown and beautiful. Right? Or you might look long and strong and have colorful graffiti all over your body like a freight train. Or you might be aged and covered with multiple coats of paint and a few barnacles here and there that have stuck on over the years like an ocean liner. But the point is, no matter who you are a vehicle who are here to make a delivery. Look at someone and say, I've got a special delivery. And you've got a special delivery. We each contain sacred cargo, and it is our job to make sure it gets where it needs to go. Right? That requires discovering who we are and allowing ourselves to come alive. Not tomorrow, not next week, not next month, but come alive today. Every day. Now here's the thing about living unto the seventh generation, right? I looked into this a little bit and I understand it differently now. As I understand it now, the point was to think about the 3 generations that preceded us, to think about our generation and think about the 3 generations yet to come. Right? And I love this idea that in every decision we make, we honor our ancestors, we care for those who are alive today, and we consider those who will come after us. In doing so, we keep the circle of life whole through all the generations. Now, on this Mother's Day, 2011, let us honor all of our mothers and all of those who came before us and all of those yet to come by living fully, by coming alive, by daring and risking being ourselves. And let us do so as we think unto the 7th generation. God bless you. Happy Mother's Day, and amen.